Hey everyone, I'm Tassinix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming for Season 48, 3 vs. 3 Grand Arena Championship for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I am joined by my regular co-host, Dagger and TJ. Sasha Isha is running a little bit late. He'll be with us a little later in the episode. But how you guys doing? What's good?
The mic working? Everything good?
Yeah. All sound checks are
We're live?
Yeah.
We're okay.
This is actually our first...
Yeah. Hey, you're the one saying you're pressed for time. You can spend as much time on this jaw jacking as you want.
I just want to make sure everybody out there knows that this is absolutely the first time we have tried recording this.
Definitely.
And this is absolutely not the third time.
That's right. And I am also a video professional. Anyone who tells you otherwise is a liar.
And hygienic. You had to be late for a shower, so I feel especially honored.
Yeah, I just didn't want to look like a grease ball before our recording.
Me either. That's why we're doing video. Oh wait.
Yeah. Well, guess what? At least one of us has to be on video. Yeah. No. So, all right.
But we're here for the sounds of your voice. We're not.
Oh, the dulcet tones. Yes. All right.
Let's go. Let's go, assholes.
Let's get cracking right on it. So you know how we do this one that's in between seasons. We're going to kind of have it be a little looser, not really tight segments, but we did have some questions that we wanted to kind of pass around between each other here while we have this discussion running. Let's start here with the first one that I typed up. So aside from Jabba and Afra here for set 12, Datacrons, what are you most looking forward to doing that's new with these crons? You don't have to give all the secret sauce away, but is there a couple teams that you're looking to maybe try that aren't just this Jabba and Afra? Because they're definitely the two standout crons. We've also heard about, Ray Jawas being a thing, but I'm just curious if there's any new combinations that jump out.
Well, I'll just kick this off by saying that if you don't have the Tusken Omicron and you have like an extra 20 burning a hole in your pocket, and you were thinking of ever placing it, this is probably a solid season to place it, because you're going to get two full 3v3s out of that.
Now, who are we talking about? We're talking Warrior here?
Raider.
The Raider one. Duh, yeah, sorry, yeah. No, guys, like, it was only a couple months ago that Dagger and TJ convinced me to apply the 3 vs. 3 Omicrons to 000 and BT1 respectively. Prior to that, the only 3v3 Omicron I've had is this Raider, and man, it has been money. No regrets, never regrets. That was before this cron. So for sure, dovetail into that. I agree.
And that takes me into what I was going to say, is that the Tusken cron is going to be solid again. Warrior level 6 or Warrior level 9, and then the Wall of Text, where when you crit them, they gain a 1% turn meter, which gives you stamina, but not stamina. That's conquest. Conquest on the brain, right? It gives you momentum. But I'll let TJ touch on this more, because he probably has way more ideas he's willing to share than I do. Most of mine aren't completely formulated as of yet. But I'll just tie this into what I said, is what I added to this topic. I've been enjoying having a little bit laxer conquest, because all your dark side crons you can pretty much just leave at level 3 and then take your light side ones to level 6 for scoundrel level 6s. And I've really enjoyed this being a pretty laid-back conquest. What are you guys' thoughts on that as well, while you're answering this question?
All right, so let's delegate out. So, task for yours, I don't know what I don't know yet. They did a good job with this set at not combining where it would be. To me, in my opinion, it's not superbly overpowered with the scoundrel setup, right? Having a light side scoundrel really takes out some of these key dark side scoundrels. So yes, you want the level 6, but then you lose some of that power of, which is really good power, the offense level 3, right? So I think in that regard, they did a really good job at keeping this one, I think, fair and balanced, is what I would call set 12. It's going to be the play. So why I like a set 11 and set 12 is because Scoundrel and Rebel are such a vast diversity in characters, right? Arguably, the biggest factions are Rebels and Scoundrels, and we have both of them playing at the same time. That means you can put a lot of things together, and you can do a lot of tricky combos, right? Like a Scoundrel Rebel team, you can now put together. And if it's going to be like the ability blocks, personally, I'm ready for week 2 already, because I want to see what this Gideon's going to do. I think that's where I'm most excited with what this set 12, since we're specifically talking about that's going to be. Everybody knows Afra. It's tough for me to go and say, hey, what are you going to do? Because we've already done it. We've
Oh,
already done
I'm
all the
not
Java.
asking you to stake your whole life on it,
No,
the
but it's
lives
like-
of your
but
children. Just
I
anything
don't
that you're
know
like,
week one.
ooh, I want to try this.
I want to see what Jawas can do. If you really want me
Okay.
to be honest, I know what Tuscans can do. They're amazing. They're killers. They're basically GL level right now with this Datacron back. You have to take the absolute creme to not die on this set. I want to see what Jawas do, honestly. Not Ray Jawas, because that's if you do that, honestly, you're giving away a lot by not having Ufu. But I want to see what Jawas can do. Just the 3 Jawas, or
Okay.
maybe Zerish Jawas. I want to see how far you can punch.
Okay,
'Cause
yeah.
I think it's got a lot of bite that people aren't going to account for. The other stuff we already know. Dagger, your question. If we're looking at stuff like that, it's I don't know, man. This is going to be Wild West type stuff. This is what I would call Dagger was 100% right on. This is efficiency at its best because everything is killing a lot of everything now. Leia is just not Leia like she was because it's basically figured out, and you can Jabba it. Jabba is not really Jabba because you can't really put him on defense. So
It's Afrid.
that's what I'm saying, right? It's like, well, what do you do? Well, it's efficiency because everything is really killing everything now, and you really have to trick people up to really make it work.
Yep.
And the stats are all kind of boo-boo, which means most of your
horrible.
rerolls are going to go to the level 3s and 6s to
Yeah.
get the mechanics you want. So, yeah, I've enjoyed No Pressure because it's the third conquest, which means we all have our pattern for how we're going to red box. And on top of that, I don't feel super obligated to go super deep on level 9s. So I'm just kind of just passively going wide for this one so I can prep for the next conquest where I maybe build some more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll say this, Tass, and hey, Sasha, we're just talking about a couple of questions. I'll let him answer.
Oh, hey,
So,
welcome.
what I want to do, honestly, is what we do have this time that we didn't before, which plays in some characters, is we actually have some resistance pin. So, building up a really good one for Fennec, having the dark side stacking offense with the Fennec resistance pin is, dude,
That's
that
back.
thing, oh my god, that is so good. The other one I want to play with, and I don't know if somebody here can tell me or not because it got asked, if the light side or the dark side is going to work with Hondo. But either way, okay, so I appreciate you telling me that. But either way, giving that man a scoundrel team built around him and then putting a ton of resistance pin on there, whew, that dude is
And
going
having cooldown reset on basic for him.
That's what you see what I mean. It's like it's like these pieces. I think honestly, if you want to say like excited for reset cooldown on basic and how many more scoundrel teams we have, dude, that's gonna be some money shots that people are gonna be like, holy hell, they're doing this much damage. I watch with Heinze to give an example. We were playing with it. He happened to have a good resistance pin with Fennec. And LV, with this defense and all that, was slapped so hard and so fast. Obviously, there was no Maul on the team, so it wasn't like a cram team. But watching how fast LV just got, in Dagger's words, dumpstered, was like chef kiss. It was chef kiss. So much fun watching her just beat the shit out of Lord Vader like it was nothing.
Very good. Very good. Hey, yeah, welcome, Sasha. Glad you're freed up.
All right.
And,
glad to join you guys.
Well, very glad to have you here. I know we're all kind of under the gun this afternoon, but we're going to get some good questions in. We were just commenting on anything that wasn't obvious about set 12 that you were really excited about trying, so I said, like, excluding the Jabba thing, excluding Afra. Was there anything that jumped out to you? So that's what TJ was just commenting on, was he was thinking about all the scoundrel possibilities, among other things.
Yeah, and the scoundrel one is certainly that's the richest vein to tap. I totally agree. Although one point on the stats there, and I'll come back to one actually level 3 that intrigues me a bit, but the armor pen and resistance pen, they've obviously ratcheted down the percent increases that are available on stat rolls. And I agree, it's nice to have resistance pen on there, and actually it's nice to have some special critical chance because generally kits are significantly lower on special critical chance versus physical. But the base number on resistance penetration tends to be so low. Like it's interesting, TJ, like you were saying that you and Heinze were able to get Fennec ramped and doing extra damage with it because her base resistance pen, at least at R8, is 60. Right, so even if you get 100%, which is just about top marks, I think that may be even a perfect rolls or so with the new one, you only take it to 120. It's not as much as the absurd numbers I've been used to, but as you saw, I think with LV, maybe it's just it is enough to sort of carry the day to at least kind of marginalize some of that LV defense.
I'll explain why though, right? It's twofold. You're not using your Scoundrel Crime. You're using the dark side stacking buffs, level 3, tied in with the resistance pen. What she becomes by that hit is, we'll say by the 4th one, she's gained 20% offense. Well, what you're looking at standard for our level of play is about a 13,000 to 14,000 offense Fennec, who's already tying into her lead, and you tie in that dark side gaining buffs with the whole team's giving you buffs. By the 3rd or 4th hit, she's gained 20% offense on top of the resistance pen, which I think was 30.
More than that.
That's what I'm saying, though.
Remember that the Datacron numbers are multiplicative off of the non-base.
But that's what I'm saying, though,
the 5%
right?
offense stacking you get is 5% off of the modifier for getting the 20% offense.
But that's what you need, and that's what I'm saying. It wasn't seeing that. It was taking these key characters with those pieces that Brock is the one who told me about it when this first came out the first time. And that made it an amazing thing. And that's where it's like getting to add on to that now with the resistance pen. These offense characters with that level 3, which Dagger talked about, it's huge, man. I'm telling you, these numbers are going to be bigger than we're thinking about. They can be when properly applied.
Yeah, and like to your point, I mean, it is dependent upon having that level 3 stacking offense for Darkseid as well. But yeah, that combo sounds potent.
Now you had something you wanted to say about level 3s, right?
Yeah, I mean, just one that has a little bit of intrigue, and for me, generally, although I'll say my overall sentiment is like the lowest degree of enthusiasm I've had about Datacrons since they came out, at least in terms of their impact. And maybe it's fine. Maybe that's just sort of a nice reprieve, but it's also could be a recalibration on their part to just bring the what's been some OP stat modification down. But the level 3 that I find fascinating is that potency one. Just because, and they're not huge matchups, but there are a variety of little things out there where tenacity potency checks can break a counter. And if you're using a counter where the big dependency is just, I've got to get the debuffs to stick. And I'll give you one example. People may not generally be looking at it for this, but that's an ideal Wampacron. If you were going to run into an Iden Trooper squad, and as long as you have sufficient tenacity to, and the Iden Trooper squad is using the Stat 11 troopers, as long as you're not going to get stunned, so you pass the tenacity check yourself, you want to make sure that you don't have this super high tenacity trooper team you're facing, so you can't land any debuff. Yeah. That can cause a major problem. You can't get healing immunity or dots up. That level 3 should make all the difference. Similarly, this is a little more old school, but if you need to have a shock lead to be able to get some bad batch ahead of an opponent to get the plus 35 speed, you do lose potency that you would otherwise get under Hunter's lead. But if you have the light side version of that increased potency level 3, sometimes that's all you need, and your bad batch under shock lead is off and running.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Those are a few of the little wrinkles. There were a few other things I had out there, but
you don't have to give all the sauce. I said give an idea, and that's okay. You fulfill the spirit of my question. I think all of you have taken a swing at my question. Dagger had a question that we kind of more or less glossed over to wrap up mine, so we can circle back to that. Would you say that again, Dagger, now that Sasha's with us?
Oh, I have a couple questions, but the first one's just really simple.
Sure.
How has this cron set being a little underwhelming affected your Datacron farming? Have you taken it a little easier? Have you still gone hard? it's also the third Gideon conquest, so it's a little more laid back in that sense too.
I mean, for my part, I just made sure that I had these key crons. Thanks for the reminder, TJ. I gotta hurry up and get a Tuscan cron together. I forgot about that. But like aside from that, I feel like I'm reasonably well set up for 1 week.
I can go. So my name is Sasha Aisha, and I have a Datacron addiction. I just feel like I should come clean on that. I tend to go very hard on Datacrons. I really enjoy them. And totally to the point of your question, though, Dagger, it has changed it. It has not slowed me down for going like all out to acquire and level up, but it has really reduced my number of rerolls because I have for sets past, like particularly for like 9 and 11, there've just been such cool stats that I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be awesome if, or there's some like 8th or 9th squad that I've got on my defense that I'm like, oh, I really want to optimize the DC for them. I look at the current DC set and I'm like, like, okay, I can re-roll accuracy, but what's the best it becomes and what kind of difference does it make for the squad beyond the first few like handful of key datacrons? So for me, from like the really aggressive whale out on it, it is really moderated.
Fair enough.
I do actually have a thing about this, right? And what I think is going to happen, and I think what we saw with 3 sets ago, I guess it would be. I believe, honestly, the thought is they're pushing it this way to increase the FOMO for the next set coming out. What they've given us now is kind of like a layover. I think a reset, what I heard, I think is a good call out. But I honestly believe what it is that when this next one comes out, because people may not have the full stacks and the full level 9s and all that, that's a lot of materials we won't have back, which is going to incentivize when they come out with something that's going to probably be amazing. If I had to guess, the next set will be something that's going to have really good stats and really good like 369s or something like that. That's going to incentivize you to really have to build up. And because we generally this set, I think I have not heard one person say something different. You get you a Java one, you get you a Tuscan one, you get you your Java one, you get you your million scoundrel ones. All from no revives again to doing all that. You may be doing some other things, but potentially that's what it is, right? You're not looking at having like you do on these last 2 sets where it's like you basically needed all 30 datacrons to really build out, right? We needed like, what do we say, Dagger? 6 to 8 of the Ufu-crons, having all these pieces to get because that's still a key squad. This was your dark side set because it had defense and it had some really key stats. So to me, it looks like they're really going to, only way I can put it, screw us over when the next set comes out because we're going to want them all, is what I would think. That's going to be like the Pokemon set where I'm going to see Sasha, he's going to be on the corner with his phone in his hand like it's got a tie off on it like he's doing heroin. Not to do this heroin, but he's over here shooting up datacrons going 24/7, right? Like datacron, and you're trying to text, hey, Sasha, how are you going? Oh, my set 13 was, it's just stuff like that, dude. It's too easy to see what's coming up ahead because to me, that's an easy way for them to get a layup, to not have to do much, and us go, holy hell, we got to do all this now.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, it does feel like it is like a break set, like what you guys have been hitting on. So, yeah, what I would say, something that sticks out to me, though, a nuance of this set is we're going to be living with set 11, which features very, very high defense that you can still get up to, while we have this relatively weak armor penetration offered by this new set. And the other thing that sticks out to me, though, is that it is weak, both in quantity, but also in availability. However, that won't really impede the whales, will it? Like, I'm still actually expecting to see folks out there that have the rerolls to still get something. I haven't checked to see what, like, the max potential armor penetration you could get, but my guess would be somewhere around 200% might be the top. Even that would be...
No,
Oh, sorry.
120 is the top if it's pegged at perfect roll.
No, these numbers
Man,
are really
that is actually pretty weak. Then I'm not too worried about it. I guess that means that defensively, set 11 is pretty gnarly.
Yeah, that's why the conversation has been so widely had about how boo-boo these stats are.
Yeah, well,
Like I said,
if it's max of 120%, that is actually pretty
the
low.
only piece that comes in advantageous, and the reason I keep saying it, is honestly resistance pen. That is the only big change that we're
Well,
seeing coming off of this
even that's okay.
set. But that's my point, right? It's like that's the only big change, and that we can basically stack the offense on these offensive characters that weren't getting the love that they really needed to make them effective. But again, it takes the combination of the level 3 to help boost it, and then you're tying in high resistance pen for these characters. But then is it light side or dark side, or is it like I talked about Honda, which he doesn't get that, but we have a level 6 to kind of offset that. So it's that's the only thing that kind of is exciting to me for the piece. But overall, look at Sasha. Sasha, who is clearly calling himself a Datacron addict, is like, yeah, and even now I can take it okay right now. So that should be telling, which is also going to be when we have this next conversation about the next set. Is like this is going to be an entire hour and a half of theory crafting of this piece to this piece, and what is this going to be that, and we're going to be all the clearly the Sunny in Philadelphia type situation where we're going to be over here putting the strings as we're thinking about what can all this next set do.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of expand from that a little bit, speaking of this being a little underpowered, it leads on to one of the questions I had. With Leia and Jabba's meta right now being a little bit more in turmoil because of the addition of the After Level 9 and the realization that Jabba essentially autos Leia, what do we think the rest of the meta is going to look like? Because even this, and again, not Scoundrel Crons don't move the needle, but they don't move the needle that far as I think what they're going to be able to punch up against for the most part, especially leading into 3v3. So what do we think the overall like strategy going in, or what is your overall strategy going in? Like, for example, like do you expect your opponents to just job your Leia? Does that make you want to save your Leia just because it's like Afra beats Jabba and Jabba beats Leia? So like, would you just save all three, right? Like, what are kind of your thoughts on how the meta has shifted? Because the meta shift is so marginal for this set as opposed to like the Ufu set kind of turning everything on its head.
Well, I think for 3 versus 3, I feel like we're strongly incentivized to talk about JMK on defense again. I think certainly for the first week it would have to be a surprise in the back, at least for me, because it's been a staple of offenses for 3s and 5s for me for season after season. That it's actually kind of hard for me to stop and think about the last time I put JMK on defense. But like you said, it just... I expect everybody that I'll be fighting, because I'm starting in the top 8 this week, so certainly everybody I'm fighting is going to have the Krons that we're worried about that are just going to, dumpster Jabba and Leia. So probably draws up front, GLs in the back, and obviously not Jabba among them. Something like that.
That feels right to me. That it's a great question, Dagger. My reaction, in part, is just as Tass described, but also like I do look at these things. I know you guys tend to as well. Think about it defense first, and this. I feel like the absence of the like just rock star or like game changing Datacrons means that we're going to have less non-GL defenses that people haven't really gauged yet, or that have a shot at just being like blowout difficult. Like you could face a hard stop, or it could draw a GL counter. I feel like there's less of that. And then again, taking that defense first perspective, like, well, gosh, that weakens my overall defensive positioning unless, and then so like it kind of translates into like maybe more GLs just need to go on defense then with this. Like I'm going to face less things that seem sort of to have like unnatural strength by Datacron on the other side. So hopefully I can wade through it. But to bolster my defense and get it to where I like it to be, I don't have the shiny new toy or shiny new puzzle that somebody hasn't figured out yet to be able to stick on the bottom front row. Mm-hmm. So it kind of means more GLs in my mind.
Yeah.
See, I think that's different though, Sasha. I think you can't necessarily say it's true what they say about these three, right? Obviously, the Jabba, the Leia is everybody's thing. It's like, oh, well, they could beat one another, but you've got four other teams, and the stuff that was, well, let's put air quotes, figure it out. We don't know that yet. There's a whole bunch out there that we're not going to know because Omicrons are in play, where you can't test that stuff. You can get an idea in arena, but that doesn't mean it's 100%. So where we had the luxury of all this Jedi Datacron with high armor pen, and as Dagger so eloquently put it, is everyone slappy. What was it, Dagger? What was the terminology? It was slappy boom or whatever the hell it was that it's doing, and that's it. But that's not the case now. We have higher defense. Yes, set 11 is still a monster with the UFUs and all the things out there. But all of the stuff that was just working because it was big armor pin, big numbers, and it was big and fun isn't necessarily there now. So the stuff that had all these easy counters could easily not be the counter. Look at Malgus. It was the set-in pieces that you know you were going to be able to do. Well, Malgus now still gets to play a full game with Jedi Knight Cal. It's not just Jedi Knight Cal killing everything. JML with the Jedi passing the turn meter, that's gone. So that doesn't necessarily make it a rough thing. So I think we're in a definitely where people are going to be trying to kind of just watch everybody like all eagle-eyed, and we're all just staring each other down like we're playing.
What you doing over there, boy?
That's what I'm saying, right? It's like we can't say it's all really. We don't know yet. There's a lot that we don't know because we don't have the luxury of that monster set with that monster armor pin. So the things that weren't holding are probably going to be doing a lot more holding than we're thinking is out there.
All right.
I think along with the buffs on level 3, we've gotten accustomed to doing a lot of damage, and I think people are going to remember really, really fast how this level 3 with the offense stacking is going to outpace the buffs level 3 within 3 turns.
Not long.
So anything you're doing that's going to be a long fight, let's say like Bastila Cal Mace versus Malgus, you're going to have so much offense after a few turns, it's going to be ridiculous. Right,
it.
and then after you get to your little ult and you blow up Malgus, it shouldn't be too difficult to take care of the sides. I think in 3v3 specifically, because fights either go really short or really long, generally there's not a lot of middle ground. I think you're going to see the level 3 stacking come into play a lot more in the long fights, and the buffs on basic mattering a lot more in the shorter fights. So I think basically what I'm saying is I think we'll still be able to get most things dead at a reasonable rate. Although TJ's right, we did lose some offense, a lot of offense, with the set rotating out. So I'm not disagreeing with that at all. I'm just saying that I don't think we're gonna be like hung out to dry by lack of offense. I think we'll just have to pick and choose our spots a little more carefully with our crops, which is something we haven't had to do for a while.
TJ, you got something you want to throw in the pot?
I think you mean Sasha.
Well, did TJ
No,
get a
he's
question?
talking about a question. No, he's talking about a question.
Yeah,
I'll
question.
let Sasha
Like,
go.
you and I have gotten
Sasha-
one into the pot, Dagger. So I mean,
I'll let Sasha go on his.
I mean, I just want to make sure everybody gets to have a thought, debated thought, discussed. Blah, blah, blah.
I mean, TJ has plenty of thoughts. We just don't need to hear them.
Ooh.
All my shit. All my shit is exclusive, sir.
Spicy.
I think if we're looking at the full of shit meter, Dagger's running on full. So TJ's words are prevalent. They're exclusive, sir. Let's get that shit right.
I'd like to take this moment to just point out I'm glad Tass isn't wearing the hat.
Yes. Well, it is a blessing because, man, it is hot in this room right now. Hello, little child.
And your hat's
The
gone.
daughter's near me, spying on the video. You are not supposed to be here.
All right.
No special guest appearances.
Let me ask you this. So I'll ask the group this because that way Sasha can do his.
Okay. Now, so you're gonna throw the potato away. Now, then you're like, give me that back. Give me that back.
Sasha didn't say anything. So you know, potato back to me. So
Snooze, you
on the
lose
hot potato,
rules.
so I will ask this. Everybody has a standard. We've talked about this before. If we go and scout ourselves, we have a safety net. We'll say GLs that we're gonna put on defense. Do you feel like that's gonna be the same going into this season, or do you feel like that's gonna change some with the new set?
You're just re-asking Dagger's question. Like,
No.
we already discussed how GLs will compositions and or positioning may change.
Hold
No.
on. It's a nuanced.
What's the
addition to
distinction?
it. I would
Maybe
say,
I'm missing
I would say
it.
it complements it. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, TJ. You're basically asking, like, after we talked about how the meta has actually shifted, how are we going to react to said meta? Are we going to?
I guess it's that way. My question is more along the lines of specifically in threes. So some people want to play a lot safer. If you want to play that, are you going to go ballsier and let's say put all your GLs on defense? If your standard is I'm going to keep 3 or 5 and I'm going to put them on defense now because the meta is changing. So how they do it, I guess it kind of combines what Sasha was talking.
Oh, did we lose you there for a sec?
And of course, I got a phone call, man, that it came in right at the same time.
No, it's okay.
So
it's okay. Go ahead.
I think it's just combining the aspects of what Sasha was talking about, and then I think also a piece of what you're talking about, Dagger, because you always want that safety net, right? But like you said, that things might die a lot quicker. So is this a time where now you're going to get a lot ballsier and you're going to start seeing a lot heavier defense where it's going to be, you know what? They don't know what they're doing. I'm gonna risk it, and I'm gonna put all GLs. We'll say some on the front, and then the rest in the back, and you're not gonna see it coming. And that's how I'm gonna catch you.
I would say
I
that.
know. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that with the offensive, like the defensive penetration stats that we lost from set 10, I think I could see a world in which my opponents would be thinking it's like I think I can just fully close out one wall, and I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that I'm still going to play it wide, right? Like you're going to have a few power teams down, but still you're going to save the majority to give yourself clears because standard threes rules applies. If you get space jammed up on one team, the cascade can possibly be insurmountable. So that's my initial thought. Like, not too much a change from the norm for me in terms of like what's my balance of defense versus offense. I think it's going to be different stuff on defense than what's been my standard the last couple of seasons. But I think the proportion's still going to be pretty quote unquote safe, at least for week 1. Like, you ain't going to catch me sleeping in the top bracket on certainly not for week 1 anyway. Like, I have no data. So I personally am at my most vulnerable when I have no research available to me.
Yeah, I feel similarly. Like I think I will, while theoretically I would lean more towards shifting GLs to defense, and I think that's probably the case. Like, who knows, I could waver when it comes a moment to actually set the defense, or when I then have to stare at the spreadsheet of what I have left for offense.
As do
and
we
I
all.
lose the will, right? And I would imagine my approach will be, it's kind of similar to what it's always been, in that I do seek to have balance generally. I just feel like as long as I know the mechanics in the game like reasonably well, or I guess most importantly relative to my competition, I will try and have balance, a mixture of like balance, probably like 9 parts balance and 1 part deliberate strategic imbalance, like occasionally. And it would be like for a one-off kind of thing. And it's nice to do it earlier in a season where you are then laying the groundwork of a history of unpredictability that opponents see. So I could see doing that, but it would be like a deliberate single occasion type of thing for me to go completely off.
Yeah, my answer is super simple. It's 3v3. So week 1 will be 2 to 3 GLs. Week 1 will be 2 to 3 GLs. Week 2 will be 3 to 4 GLs, and then we'll see how I feel week 3. What's on defense might change based on previous things, but it's like, that's cool. Let's make you beat extra.
Breaking up on us a bit there, Dagger.
Put lay on defense.
Just a heads up. Just
We
all of a sudden.
about, well, yes, so we talk about like X beats Y and blah blah blah, but it's like there's still nothing wrong with still making them do it, right? Like I don't know if I'm placing Jabba to make them have for it, because that's kind of cheap, I guess. They're gonna have for something. I'd rather it not be the thing I can use to beat Leia, but that doesn't mean that I won't put Jabba on defense, Because if you put it in the back and they just assume you don't put it on defense because Afra dumpsters it, like, okay, what are you using now, asshole?
That's what I'm saying. Setting draws up front so powerful in threes because if they end up needing to overpower something, to what Sasha was saying, if you end up being able to set some type of cron that unexpectedly chews them up with a B team and they have to overpower something, you're absolutely right. If they have to get back and it's still Jabba and Leia side by side sitting in the back, now what? What you gonna do?
Also, one thing to kind of remember, and I don't believe we had the same crons available the last time Tuscans had a cron, but I wouldn't bank on your Tuscans holding too much in a certain light, because bounty hunters have been pretty consistent over the time with them, and now they have a no revive cron, so now your Tuscan Raider can really eat shit, right? I'm not saying it won't work or will work. I'm just saying that bear in mind that you may not want to commit your Tuscans to the bottom front wall, even if you have the Omi, simply because the mechanics exist within this current set to sort of trivialize it. And I think even TJ said he's used dash to beat it. And if they're going to use dash to beat it, like no revive is just going to like completely like spread the cheeks.
True. You right about
just additional thought on when we're talking about GL specifically. Tuscans in 3v3 are adjacent, right? They're up there when you have the Omicron. So it's just kind of thinking out loud about how they should be approached or thought about when you're building your defense, similar to what Sasha had said too, and what you have said, Tass. Just that's one I'll kind of give. I don't want to say for free, but I've been noodling that one around for the last couple of days on what I want to do with Tuscans, where I want to put it, do I want to try utilizing it on offense, etc.
I think that we had a meta that was a lot about drawing Treya for the last couple of 3 seasons, and that's why there was more consideration for setting Tuscans up front. I think historically, for me at least, and I'm sure you guys might be able to speak on that, is Tuscans have been a stalwart of the top front for me, because they're exactly the type of team where it's like, okay, it's not a GL, it's not Gas, it's not Malgus. All right, we know we've got something to deal with it. It's like, but do you? But do you? After all the other stuff that you think you've got something for, do you actually? So I think your point that they might end up being not bottom front, given what you said about Scoundrels. Yeah, I wouldn't want to feed them something free. Maybe, I don't know though, man. Definitely not bottom front. I'm just not sure about
bottom
top
back
end.
or a top front. I think is really good for the Tuscans. But the other piece that played a part is if you do want to use them with this set, the punch up is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm just not going to discount them. Dagger's right. Stuff can kill it, but the level that they can kill when they have this being able to bring everybody back, and you have 4 characters and they have 3, is just dope. In one word, it's just super good. So the level what they kill is great. But
what are examples of that target list, TJ? Like what do you think starts coming into range?
Pick any basic team that wants to gain turn meter. And there was a threshold where they couldn't do it, right? There without the level 6, but now up into and including, I do want to see what they're doing against Malicos if we do see him. And the reason I say that is the ability to stack it, because they stack so fast, right? It's not the revive, because the revive is gone, but they stack so quick on the momentum and things they can do. They can hold pretty goddamn well. The other, it's I don't know where they're going to go to. I know how far they were pushing last time we saw this, and that ability to have the 4 characters. Whew, and especially
like a Finn resistant squad.
Oh, that's nothing.
That's a safe
that is nothing. Yeah? That is the lowest of if we're looking at the highs, that's the lowest of the highs. It will destroy a resistance comp regardless of setup. Hands down. Easy. Because of the fact that you have the 4 and you can stack the damage, and the fact that unless it's no revive, right? I comment on Malicos because yes, but there's also the no revive built into it, so that can be kind of scary. But the resistance, anything that can't keep them down, and your warrior is still alive, brings everybody back. Afra, absolutely shit. That's if you set that and you have Tuscans, man, it's gonna be a lot of fun. That's an easy kill.
Yep.
I can almost put anything out there that's gonna try to hold you out is gonna get popped by this level with this level 6 and level 9 on Tuskens.
All right. Sasha, you got something brewing in the pot? Something you want to throw in? I'm sure we all have other questions, but I want to make sure all of us at least got one in.
So this is maybe less for this week, but generally for this coming 3v3 season. There's a bit for this week. But it's just kind of interesting to see sort of the Age of Mandalore coming and what it's going to translate into. We've got some of the new light side Mandalorians that will be hitting in the Whale the Dolphin area at least. And Paz Vizsla sure looks impressive. I haven't seen him in obviously the expectations his long-term home is going to be under the new Bo-Katan, but in 3v3s, particularly an R9, but an R8 well-modded one just looks like a beast. So kind of curious to hear if there are thoughts on those guys. And then related, I was kind of looking at as Conquest is winding down and we're getting ready for the new Moff Gideon and looking at his kid, it's like, oh man, this guy just seems so ripe for, and I can't believe I'm saying this, a Gar Saxon lead with ISC, right? It's just going to be very interesting to see those as, even without the Datacron that's a perfect fit for them, or tailor-made for them at least. It seems like there's going to be some interesting waves created by, light side paths and whatever, maybe with armor, and then starting week 2 here, the new Moff Gideon with his Mando buddies.
I want to say straight out of the gate that Aesop Rock taught me last 5 season that this Gar and ISC at suitably high relics and in certain modding. For Gar, it was offense and tenacity with a tenacity cross and speed arrow with an emphasis on protection. So protection through the secondaries and then protection on primary for triangle and circle. Whereas ISC was also offense and tenacity modded, tenacity cross, offense triangle, I want to say protection, circle, and offense arrow. So the backslap from those characters is obliterating. So I want to believe that with Moff Gideon, I can absolutely foresee this. So ever since I had that surprise situation handed to me by Aesop, I've been developing that myself. Now he has both of those characters, Relic 9. You can go look them up for yourself, but the offense stats are, you can step them down to whatever you have, Relic 8, 7, 5, where you're at. But to be honest, I don't expect these guys to be really significant under Relic 7 for all the folks at home. Relic 8 is where I happen to have mine. I have them on the slow track to be Relic 9. I don't expect I'll have them within the next month, within the next 2, probably within the next 3. I can probably have them both Relic 9, something like that. But I underestimated the potential for their lethality once, and it will only be the once.
I'm telling, so I've seen them do some really quality dirty work. I do love that tenacity modding. Fatal did that.
Not under 140% is the mark to go for the tenacity amount. Not under 140.
Yeah, and it does. It depends on what you're targeting for.
Yeah, it's arbitrary. That's arbitrary. Yeah, I'm just saying that arbitrarily.
Until gas has a 30% potency per enemy, and then you're fucked.
Well,
yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't even bother. I mean, mod for it if you dare. But my gas is going to have the 30% potency, as I expect most.
I've already got mine built.
Yep, exactly. I appreciate that someone might try that, and they will get their booty hole blown out should they try.
I will give it. I will give it though. That doesn't that doesn't mean it's not going to be killing something, which is a great thing, I think, to add.
Oh yeah.
With
It's
that
something
Moff
that we
Gideon,
didn't
yeah, I just hear
previously
about-
perceive as
I
a
never
threat.
the Moff Gideon. I'm telling you right now, the first
I
one I want to
per-
try is with Scout. Scout's already got a
Oh,
con.
yeah,
Still
of
level
course.
9, dude. Moff Gideon with that
Yeah.
Scout, and yes, I understand the Gar and IC. I think the call out is great because I think it's built for that. But trying him in his home and seeing Scout go full swing of how Scout is supposed to react when you have Imperial Remnant, and we have actually a good one now. I am super excited to see how this is going to play out. I think because we've already got to try him, right, and he looks like a lot of fun, and he's not even optimized yet. I cannot wait to try this man with Scout and a Scout Cron to see how this is going to play out. I think he's going to slap people's faces off. I think it's going to be a shit ton of fun.
Yeah.
Very fair.
I only bring up the gas thing insofar as I know we talk about this when we actually plan, but there are trades I'm okay with, and there are trades I'm not okay with. And you knock the Gar and I see my gas. You Gar and I see my dash, right? Go ahead. And, just like it's likely you're going to up us something. I just want to dictate.
Well, I just want to point
Right.
out that the threat condition that I was discussing was those two set on defense with Lord Vader in 5s. Like Lord Vader, Maul, those two, and Royal. I dealt with Maul and I dealt with Royal, and then it was Lord Vader, Gar, and ISC, and I was like, I got this. And then I didn't got this. And I just want to point that out.
I've watched a bunch. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I had to say.
It was a 3v3 video, so my apologies.
Hey, you're cutting
My
out, Dagger.
apologies.
Just
Also,
so
I
you know,
watched
buddy,
people bounty
you're
hunter
cutting
that. I also watch people bounty hunter the Gar ISC comps pretty consistently in 5s.
I did that with bounty hunters, and that's what didn't work. So, I mean, look, I am always open to the possibility that I mechanically screwed something up. Like, I am open to that.
Well, I think it may be more. I think we'll see that more, though. I think to your thing, Tess, I think it more is of a 5s thing because you need the conjunction of other pieces, right? So
to draw your
You
aggression as higher threats, yeah, I think you're right about that. It may not be a big threat for 3s, but if we're talking about a world where this is like a BC and AD moment, right? You're talking about Gar and ISC, who are important as pilots only, complete jokes as characters. Even in this post buff world with Maul, I have not seen a lot of people making use of the Maul Gar ISC thing. At least in the people I'm coming up against. So where I have seen it, it was only just this once, and it was a surprisingly dangerous thing. And I expect that, as a new danger, it'll only be dangerous for certain things at certain times. But it was something that wasn't ever dangerous, now is something that can occasionally be dangerous. Mm-hmm. And that's the only reason I brought it up, is off of Sasha's point.
My only worry for it. Oh, yeah, and my only worry for that combo, just speaking for it going forward, is if you don't have a way to make Gar attack out of turn, they're kind of useless still. Like, their hits are still very meh if they don't attack out of turn. They're just bodies. So, Royal Guard gives retribution, so if you avoid a dispel, then that's less relevant. But my point basically being, I think that this team, I think that those characters are pretty well set up to go with Mandalorians or Gideon going forward. And I think that, like you said, they will be scary, but they're going to be on a team with both Gideons that's going to make them terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right? What happened when you call the mass assist with wait, does Gideon call a mass assist from everybody?
It's
Gideon?
ISC,
Or is it just Imperial Troopers?
It's Gar and ISC have it built into one another when you're getting that stuff like that. Then you're looking at the
but does
the original Moff Gideon is just for Imperial Troopers.
Right.
Okay, so then that might not even be a thing that's on the team anyways. But my point is, I think that they're going to be very good in 3v3 as a duo, and that's kind of what I was speaking on when I was saying that I'm okay. They're going to be something on my board, and I would like to dictate which things you are capable of being. And that's kind of where I was going.
I think at this level it's pretty fair, man, because they are that strong, and it's true, right? They were nothing, and now they are literally something. They do stomp faces. They can get immunity, right? They can do things that make this team a staple team. But yeah, I want to make sure I answer the other part, right? For the Dolphin Whale part for your thing, Sasha, when you're talking about it, for Paz, I think Paz is a monster. And I think what we have to not discount, and we don't know, right? What do we have? 3 weeks. That puts us into what is it? Middle of December. So we could technically see. I highly doubt it. The next character. So we get the next Jedi, Mr. Beck or whatever his name is, into the new bow. Um, they could give us Bo for week 3, or maybe we'll be just outside it. I'm not sure, but that's what I would want to see, right? Because I want to see what this Bo is going to do. I think Bo and Paz and Mr. Yes 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 are going to be some big time killers when we get the full Monty, right, so to speak, on what this looks like.
Yeah,
I also think that really quick. I also think that Paz is going to be one of the least necessary things to like dolphin on because he's probably going to be farmable before Bow drops, right? He'll be the one that is probably, or if they put it permanently in the journey guide, it won't matter. But the Jedi is just going to have applications other places because of his tags. So he's probably and he's going to be the last one released. So if you're going to dolphin on something, it would probably be that. I've also seen IG-12 be like okay already on some Mandalorian stuff.
Yeah,
so I think,
and I saw on a random Fatal stream, I saw him mention that he wailed out for Paz, and he said that from his point of view, like there's no big gain to his kit from going to R8 R9. So unless you just want to make him tankier to do arbitrarily tanky stuff, that's fine, but it isn't like a big read through to his kit. So if you wanted to take him up for, I think a lot of people, maybe 7 would be the top. Myself, I'm gonna see how I feel about him at 8 when he does become farmable, because like what you said, I'm not in a big hurry to acquire the guy.
Yeah. It depends on what it beats, right? If it here's the problem we're always going to run into, right? Because if it does indeed contest with GLs, and God, I hate that I'm saying this because I make fun of Tass all the time for saying it. But if Bo is going to compete with GLs, would you rather your tank be less tanky or more tanky?
Very fair. See, yeah. See,
right?
And I appreciate that you're not really fighting that, because that means that at your core, you're at least able to see reason, because you recognize that more number is better than less number. And I appreciate you for that.
But I appreciate it insofar as you will, if you look at my roster and you see the things that are R9 that aren't GL requirements, aren't GLs, or aren't like what you would call air quotes mandatory for whatever reason, being tanks, etc. You'll see that they're things like Star Killer, right? They are things that compete with GLs. So, for me personally, I reserve my air quotes luxury R9s for things that will help my teams punch up into GLs.
What was your point, Sasha? I want to make sure that we get your point, buddy.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of good input. I would agree with Dagger that in terms of like the time sensitivity and sort of the whether it's worthwhile spending to accelerate. Paz is out there and is going to be farmed before his entire puzzle on all the necessary pieces are available. So patience is worth it. I do think ultimately when it comes together, and totally speculative because we don't know what the new Mo is going to do, but my impression is that's probably going to be an R9 worthy character, Paz, just because he's a tank. So you get so much out of R9 tanks, and the damage that I've seen from him is super impressive.
Yes,
so,
his damage is insane.
It really is crazy. So like ultimately, I see that being one that an R9 is going to be worth it. But it's actually I do think it's that Dark Trooper Moff Gideon and the Mandos, and there are other, like TJ was saying, other cool uses for Dark Trooper Moff Gideon. But I expect him to really shake things up, and he's somebody that I'm saving in R9 mats for once he comes out. I'm convinced he's going to have a real impact.
For sure.
Kind of going back actually to the point that you made, Dagger, about kind of the utility you want out of an R9 investment, that if it's going to be other than something that's necessary as for actually acquiring a GL, that you want it to be something that can help you, it makes the difference in punching up to GLs. And a Star Killer clip. Do you think, for example, is R9 Emperor Palpatine something going into 3s, where I hear more people talk about, gosh, that's such a difference maker to be able to survive Ray squads? Is R9 Emperor Palpatine an example of one that you think is worthwhile, or does that fall out?
Mine's R7, and So mine's R7, and I have 4 prop primaries on him, and I have not had him die in that fight, unless he took a second whirlwind. But R9's not stopping the second whirlwind from killing him. So I think if you're willing to remod him, I don't think he needs an R9, although it depends on how much stock you put in his ship or how much stock you put in him just as a character. He's not there for damage, so the damage doesn't really matter. He has a ridiculously low protection pool, and he's not actually that strong health pool wise either. So even going to R9 to give him air quotes more survivability isn't like actually moving the needle, in my opinion. But
I will tell you, I have EP at R9, and that is 100% based on ship. That is not based. So to Dagger's point on that, if you're doing an R9, mine was based on ship. It was that at some point I may put Palp ship in the lead, and this is where I want speed to be a factor, and more speed is good in the ship, so therefore more relics is needed.
What I will say though is if your plan is to make the ship stronger because you're planning to use it more proactively somewhere, and you would like to put a potency cross onto him, and you have a spare R9 laying around, I think it's probably worth it. The problem with Starkiller in 3 specifically is that it doesn't beat this current Kron very consistently.
Yeah,
so like I don't think R9 in your EP is going to move the needle there. And I think going forward, if there aren't any Krons for Leia or for Rey, and there aren't any Krons for Starkiller, I don't think our raid EP is probably fine. But he's mostly just an enabler to call Starkiller to assist. So you can just like prot build him and make him a potato. Like his speed doesn't even really matter because Mara Jade feeds him so much turn meter. So you can just like literally prot stack him, I think, instead of the relic. Now, if you're one of those people who would rather relic things, but again, this is the difference between like myself and someone like Tash who has way more relics due to investment levels, and I mod to make up for that. So I just prot stacked him at R7. I hope that answers the question. I also don't have R9 Afra for that same reason, because her damage isn't R9ing her when she stacks her own offense and getting that extra. Oh no, she gets 600 extra offense. That's not moving the needle for how fast she ramped.
Yep.
Same with BT1. Like I understand that Tass has like cracked out mods in his After team, but I have an R8 BT1, and I looked at what to see people about what an R9 would be, and it'd be like 800 offense, and I'm just like, that's not a lot. So it all just kind of depends on what I tend to do the main damage dealers like Starkiller, where he is the entire team, or I'll do the tank, because frequently the longer the tank lives, the further you push. For example, Mace might be one of my next R9s just because I use him almost exclusively as Starkiller in 5s.
Yeah, Mace is certainly on my radar as an R9 too. I've really come to respect that character a lot.
I'll tell you what, guys. Yeah. I'm here to tell you both. You're on to something good. I took my Mace to Relic 9. No regrets. I dumped his protection pool, minimized it as much as possible, made sure that I kept him with at least 100% potency, and otherwise stacked the crap out of prot with as much offense secondary as I could, and did not have him die at all the last 5 seasons, and he did God's work. He was a solid choice. I wanted to touch back on what you said on EP, because you alluded to what I did there, and I have had him Relic 9. To TJ's point, he did it for ships. I did this solely for the Starkiller matchup versus Rey. And it's not just because it is capable of surviving the second whirlwind from Rey. It is also because in the adverse outcome where you get stuck behind a taunt, or she's got 3 stacks of inspiration and damage immunity, and you just have to sit there and wait for her to take her next turn so you can get rid of that. One whirlwind plus being able to take a basic from her later in the fight and survive, I have had that pay off more than once. And I have seen... like, I will say, like it's a corner case choice. Like to everything you were saying, Dagger, like it should be nobody's top or middle priority. But has it been worth it? Now, having had it for a few seasons, I can say unequivocally, not all the time. I would say about 10% of the time, I'd say, ooh, I'm glad I have that little extra survivability. Ooh.
Yeah.
I will say this. I remember when you initially did it, I ran my EP and you ran yours at R9, and my R7 had more survivability.
I've certainly adjusted mods since then. Maybe that's still the case now if you ran it.
No. I'm simply saying if we go back then, what I'm saying is I don't value speed on Emperor Palpatine.
I do keep him at about
because
260.
Mary Jade feeds him so much. Oh, mine's like 210 because his speed's completely irrelevant in that fight.
Yeah.
Just completely irrelevant. Mary Jade feeds him so much turn meter.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm gonna drop mine in the task house spots while we're on stream here,
Okay.
and if you wanted to look,
no worries.
I mean, I don't know how that sizes up to yours, but I'll say that
No. I'm just pointing out that when you're just for the overall talking of how that matchup works.
Yeah.
Just I'm not saying R9 isn't good, but mine's still R7, and man, I have not found his speed to be relevant. Now in TW, I have him at whatever the guild asked me to have him at. But in GAC, I pretty much kind of zero out his speed.
Yeah, I took him to 260, and
I
had him at 260 since forever and ever ago, and I just really didn't like ever seeing it under 260. So I'm willing to accept that when you look at what I posted there, that this is an unnecessary amount of resource devoted to speed, where I could probably further stack protection. I'm perfectly willing to take that. Like, this is a speed and health set that he's actually in. So I could see myself dropping the speed set and having, I don't know, defense or health, some mix therein, and be okay. But this, to your point, yeah, it's only a minority of cases where that extra survivability makes a difference. But it's those couple of attacks that you do with Starkiller where you drop, where you have a full health, full protection EP at Relic 7 who catches a basic from Rey who's low on health but has some has mastery stack, and she just one-shots him from full health and protection. You're never for sure that the Relic 8 or Relic 9 on top of that might have made a difference. But I'll say this much. You know it for sure when you have that EP hang on by a damn thread, and then you're able to use third and hang on to the fight, right? Like, you know it for sure when it does kick in. And it is a minority of cases, but it does happen. That's all I had on that, yeah. Guys, I'd say we got about 15 minutes until closing time. So let's get one more question out, and let's start getting to the wrap-ups and start leaving people with our final thoughts, because I don't want to run afoul of any y'all's clock.
Sounds good.
Somebody throw one in. Somebody's got something burning. Don't feel shy. Y'all know that we'll answer each other in our chats about anything that we can't get on screen. But you know how it is.
What we meant, what we kind of just chatted about a little bit for modding. I know, Tash, I won't say frequently, but historically you have been willing to do exhaustive remods for 3s versus 5s. Now, I'm not saying you still do, but is that something you still do, and which characters do you target if you do remod?
Well, great question, and the answer for me is no, and it hasn't been for quite some time. I want to say that there are very few, exceedingly few characters that benefit from a large remod from what you might otherwise keep default for 5s. And I would say that in my experience, it hasn't really made that colossal of a difference. Like, the stuff of mine that snags people up in 3s, it's because of what the team is. It's because of what the comp is. I haven't really used any trick modding in 3s, or what might be more appropriate to say is that if there are some moddings that are having to be tricky for 3s but matter less for 3s, then my default for that has become the 3s for those characters. They have the 3v3 modding, and then everybody else is defaulted to 5 vs 5. But whatever that is, it's all one set, and that's just my GAC set, whether it's 3s or 5s. I just haven't seen that much need for divergence, but I'm also not checking for it anymore. So there's maybe a hole in my vision for that. Maybe somebody else has something to add on that.
Very similar. Like I go into matchups. Maybe there are a few times where I'll look at modding of opposing characters. Just if I'm aware that there's a ploy that could be used. Maybe it's a speed check on a start, but more often than not, it's like, oh, is there some weird tenacity shenanigans or something going on? But I will always check the datacron. And it's just that's like kind of overtaken modding subtleties for me. And similarly, like I really prefer set it and forget it mod loadouts to the extent I can.
To that. TJ, anything?
Apparently, I'm the only sweaty one then, because yes.
I guess, man. Look at you.
To make it short, yes, I do. But then it may be just because the mod quality I have tomorrow, I have to work around. But there's teams like Troopers. Sean, back when he was playing, really got me on making sure your third character, so usually Veers, is really decked to be able to take something out, because you need that. You need that connecting tool, right? Because you only have 3 characters to really work a team.
Mm-hmm.
So like Veers, 100% will make sure that Veers is speeded up to be able to be that third wheel and a counter I need. Tuskens, I deck the fuck out of my Tuskens when it comes to 3s.
Dig that.
I make sure that the damage from Raider is ridiculous, and I make sure that the other pieces can survive long, and that make sure my chieftain is fast. I look where I can alleviate some of the mod speeds or decks like Zam. There's gonna be a lot of times I'm not gonna use the Zam. So because she's got some quality mods on her, I may pull her and give her to somebody else and swap those out. So it's just those key things where it's like if I'm not gonna use all of the tools, why do I need to give them the mods? So I will look to spec less on those characters and spec them better on others.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense to me.
Yeah, I don't remod. I have a GAC set that I keep, and unless we have something like the turn meter level 3 from the last time we had Africron, then I don't really touch mods for 3v3. And even then, I only really do it to make sure that the character I want gets to go first. For example, it's the reason why my EP, like we talked about earlier, is prot build. The way he is now thicker than Mara Jade.
Mm-hmm.
So Mara Jade would get the turn meter.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and like I just said, things like that I remod, they generally just stay like that, because I have really enjoyed the prot built Emperor Palpatine, because, I just don't use him for all that much outside of EP SK, because he's basically a function of powering up Mara Jade and Starkiller at this point. Yeah.
Very fair. Any other burning questions we wanted to field here? I know we're all wanting to keep a little bit to the chest for going into this week, but any other questions you wanted to put to us all while we're all here? If not, then we can turn to the closing remarks. All right.
I think I said pretty much everything I wanted to say.
Yeah, all right. I'll take that as the writing on the wall. That's good. So in closing, always three versus 3 favors in efficiency strategy. The board is wider, so if you get caught out on a team, you can get yourself in a cascade that you can't pull yourself out of. Always be mindful of that. I would say that whatever's been conventional for you that's not GLs for your bottom front wall for week 1, change that up. If you're thinking that you might want to set whatever GLs in the back and perhaps catch your opponent off guard, look to set things up front that are not GLs that are also not typical for you. Only if you're playing in a bracket where your opponents are scouting, and certainly where they are, that's where this strategy will benefit you the most. Otherwise, put your strongest non-GL teams up front and see if they confound your opponent. Get data this week, just on yourself. See what your own performance tells you. Because, even after this first week, you'll still only have 1 week of data to draw on. It's really not a strong body, not like it is after the second week. So give yourself some personal testing in addition to whatever you read from next week's Swugga.gg data. And that's about it from me. Sasha?
Sure. So I'll add just like a PSA for folks. If you happen to have rolled a decent Jawa cron and you have some Jawas, the PSA is just don't forget that you have them in 3v3 when you have some really ugly non-GL counter to clean up. Something that, like, again, they won't take out GLs, but I suspect with the scavenger datacron and that wordy level 6, if you end up with one of those, that there's going to be real value to be found from, even relatively modest, like R5 level Jawas. I'm not brave/stupid enough to say, hey, go in first run and, they'll take out big things yet. Although I suspect there are targets that are viable for them. It's just...
They beat Maul, historically.
That I believe. That I totally believe. It's just I've been using them in Arena just out of for sheer fun, putting them with Ray, and I've beaten Leia teams, beaten JMK squads, but just don't forget that you've got them. If you have that Datacron, like if it rolls and there aren't a ton of other great alternatives, it's a nice cleanup in the back pocket that normally I would never recommend.
Very fair. Dagger?
Yeah, just I believe the world would be a better place if everyone adopted my philosophy of 3v3 is AIDS and save all your GLs for offense.
Okay. Well, good.
That way we can all move on with our lives and get back to real Swugga, which is 5v5.
A fair and nuanced reaction if I ever heard one. TJ, your closing thoughts for the people.
I think it's gonna be a fun week for everybody. I really do. I think we're gonna have a lot of fun. But as I've said it every time, if you can and you have the time to do it, thank your local content creator. Make sure you spay and neuter them. We don't want them growing. We don't want them spreading. But when we got them,
I'm right here.
You want to use them. Yep. You want to use them. So watching passes, let them make their mistakes and play your game and get to see how this works out, right? How they interacts. As Sasha brought up, and I said it before too about the Jawas. Hey, he's got it and he could try it. It's like, cool, I got it too. Let's see what it looks like. And we can see where it's like, okay, it didn't work here or it didn't work there, but maybe it can do this. So, and then look at your insights. Check out GG, check the history, see what's going to work when we get to the next week. This is the most important week because you can gain a lot of information that maybe your opponent doesn't have and gets you 2 steps ahead.
That's true. It's true. All right. Well, hey, appreciate all you guys making time here, especially on, constrained schedule. We managed to get this one in, so thank you all for freeing up the time. Been a pretty good discussion. I think there's still yet a good bit left to discuss here that's going to be a lot of fun when we go in for the week 1 video. Up to and including something that's of major interest for me, what we're thinking about in terms of early team comps for Dark Trooper Moff Gideon. But until next time, as always, it's been real, it's been awesome, it's been real awesome. Take care, and we'll see you soon.